There's a reason that John Elway brought in Peyton Manning after Tim Tebow, because Tim Tebow was newsworthy, and he was winning, and he was taking over the locker room. And so John Elway sat there, and he thought, who's bigger than Tebow? Like, who's the rock star? Favre's retired. Brady's not leaving. Peyton Manning comes in, and nobody would question it. You got a vanilla quarterback, Joe Flacco, who, I mean, by any standard...
Personality-wise, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's just... He makes Eli look riveting. And then you have Kaepernick, who is newsworthy. And here's what I know about the media. They have no restraint. Like, the media's got no restraint because the media's going for clicks and attention.
Bingo.
I'm going to walk into a locker room. Who do you think I'm going to go to?
Bingo. Your point is the entire point. This story is an example of it. ESPN has run this story out there, and I got a lot of respect for ESPN journalistically. This story is journalistically unsound. It's a powerful story with no name on the byline. And then in the first paragraph, it references a reporter with no resume that says that they're a credible source on this issue so explosive. There's desperation from the media for clicks. ESPN has fallen into it. You don't put a story out like this without putting a name on it. You can't go ESPN News Services. So the media have no rules as it relates to Kaepernick. There's no common sense. There's no rules. You can write and say anything. You can jump. I believe Ozzie Newsome. There's been no decision made here, and Steve Bisciotti isn't stopping anything. This is why Kaepernick supporters, all the people caping up for him in irrational fashion, they're the problem. They're the reason you avoid Colin Kaepernick.
Should they have reservations? Yes. Will he be a distraction? Yes. But I actually think of all teams, the Ravens makes the most sense. It puts him in Baltimore, where he can immerse himself in everything that he's trying to stand up for. And I think that that would be a good experience for both parties. I also think the Ravens have openly supported guys who have done pretty terrible things that you can't even compare to anything with Colin Kaepernick. So it actually makes some sense to me.
Making sense and having reservations are the two separate issues right now, because I agree in some aspects, him being there, you have a coach that understands this guy probably better than any other coach. Why? Because his brother coached him. He understands what he's capable of doing, and he can get from his brother what he can't do. So from an X's and O's standpoint, you have all of that. You talk about immersing himself into the causes that he wants to. Baltimore is a good place for it. But you got to have reservations as well, because you're dealing with all the issues that are coming on. The media is going to be there. It is going to be a lot for the other players in the locker room to have to deal with Cap on the team. And if you're really looking at this and thinking about it right now, if you're Baltimore, you really don't trust your quarterbacks. So that's an issue for them. So there are a lot of reservations, because for them to even be considering this, because their quarterback went down and you're saying he's going to be back at the beginning of camp, you don't trust your backups.
Well, that's a really good point. And I've always said that it doesn't make sense to bring Colin Kaepernick in as a true backup that you don't ever expect to see on the field, because he becomes a distraction. But for this case, there's a chance that Flacco might not be able to play for a few games, and you might actually need Kaepernick. And to not want to bring him in also says, hey, we think that all these, like Ryan Mallett's better than Kaepernick. I don't think so.
Ask yourself right now, who is the most talked about quarterback in the NFL?
Oh, we know that, Colin, of course.
Hey, he's not on a team. Like, you think you're going to put him on a team, and the media is going to go, let's put this in context. Yeah. Let's have some restraint. The media can't. Literally, you know what the media is? It's putting ice cream in front of my son and saying, don't eat it. Here's a spoon. The media can't help himself. He is the lead story in America as a marginal player in the off-season, and he's unemployed. Like, when he gets a job, this is going to be every Ravens player. What do you think? I'm sorry, I don't want anything to do with it.
It might go away in a couple weeks.
Well, you know, the only thing that'll make it go away, it'll really go away if he hits the field. He has. That's why he has.
It never goes away.
It'll go away.
No, Eric.
It'll go away.
You can't control the news cycle.
No, you can't control. You can't control the news cycle, but you can control a portion of the narrative if he's actually playing. If he's playing on the field, if he's making plays or not making plays, is something else to talk about.
But here's the issue: because the media has zero discipline. If in Cincinnati or Albuquerque or
I know where you're going.
Bum Place, Egypt, or whatever, has a shooting, Colin Kaepernick is now the national spokesman for that issue. And we keep talking, Christine, I get your point. He can immerse himself in the cause in Baltimore. He can move to Baltimore and do that without being on a football team. Because if I'm Steve Bisciotti and I'm those football players on that team, The cause that I want him committed to and immersed in is winning football games.
And also, you say, listen, I think it could go away. Stuff doesn't. LeVar Ball is not going away. The Kardashians have been on the air for 15. I mean, honestly, when I watch the Kardashians, I'm like, okay, this will wrap up. We're a decade into the Kardashians. People that take on social causes and that are kind of magnetic, they don't go away because the media reels them back in because we lack restraint. I mean, there are people in the media, T.O. still ends up on shows.
But I'm going to tell you, this cause right here, it's different. It's different because this is not the Kardashians and this is not LeVar Ball trying to sell himself. The causes that he's fighting for are things that people will sort of brush to the side anyway. That's the one thing. That's what I'm saying. If Cap starts playing, because he's talking about things that are happening to people of color. And if he starts playing, they'll start talking about the football. They really don't want to talk about this anyway.
Got it. But here's the issue with Colin's getting at. LeVar Ball runs his mouth 24/7. The Kardashians are willing to get naked on command and talk and do whatever to draw attention. Colin Kaepernick doesn't even talk, and he's the most talked about person. He hasn't even opened his mouth. It's all the people that are trying to virtue signal and show how supportive they are and how unracist they are and how pro-black they are that are doing all the talking around Colin Kaepernick, and they're not going to stop because it's not really about the agenda. It's about let me virtue signal. Let me show everybody how committed I am.
But that's why the story would end if he actually does sign with a team, because all we're talking about is he's not playing anywhere, and why not?
Else.
But when he's actually on a team,
why isn't
he
playing? Yeah, why isn't he playing in front of Flacco?